just want to thank everybody for coming. I didn't like that tree anyway. Who's that? Collector Alliance. What'd you say? Collector Alliance lets me sell all my paintings, toy collectibles. Check out Collector Alliance. Hey, who was that?
Welcome to the Collector Alliance. All right. What's going on? Chef, how you doing? So wait, so you started off as a chef?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. I started as a chef very young. Like, well, I wouldn't say I was a chef at 13, but I started in the kitchen at 13 years old.
Nice. What's your favorite thing to cook?
Oh man, that's a wild question because everybody always asks that. And I always say it's like picking between your kids. You don't know which one to pick because they're all kind of your favorite. But I'm a big seafood guy. I like to cook seafood because I think it's not cooked properly a lot. And I like to cook it properly. You know, I'm big on sustainability. So like fish that are overfished and all this craziness, I'm big on wild caught sustainable fish. So that way we have fish to eat for the rest of eternity, you know?
What do you mean by sustainable fish?
So like things are overfished. Like people, you know, fishermen or businesses don't necessarily care how much natural resource they're taking from the earth. So things like Chilean sea bass, which everybody loves, but it's overfished crazy. So eventually we'll have no more Chilean sea bass. So I worked with a company for a long time called My Gulf Wild. They're all Gulf fish. So you're talking mahi, groupers, red snappers, things like that, where they have a system. Like if they catch a really big fish, that's like that's like a breeder fish. They will throw it back, you know, because they want that fish to keep breeding. Like, you know, it's a smaller fish you got to use. So you got to be a little bit more creative with being the chef, but it's guaranteeing that we have grouper for the future, you know?
Gotcha. That makes sense, dude. I like that actually. Have you noticed that lobster is like $15 a lobster tail now, if not 20?
I mean, lobster's crazy, but so they lobster's farmed a lot. So that's another thing that there's a couple farms where I would use the fish because they use sustainable farming practices. Like when you set up a fish farm or a lobster farm or whatever, you kind of like section off a part of the ocean and they just dump food in there, you know, try to feed these things to get them big enough to sell. Well, unfortunately, all that food, if it doesn't get eaten, it goes to the ground. It kills the seaweed. It kills all the natural things in the element. So some of these farms are actually doing more harm than good. But that's when you farm things and you mass produce it, it brings cost down. But at the same time, other things rise. Like lobsters, I'm actually allergic a little bit to I'll eat it. I love it. I'll eat it, but I'm allergic. So like I can only have about 3 or 4 ounces before I start to get some like not hives, but I get real hot and then I get like real uncomfortable and then I might even get sick. So like I try to stay under the 5 ounces, 4 ounces, but I love it. I'll still eat it. I don't care.
What do you think about grilling lobster? Is that like a no-go or is that?
No, I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to cooking. So like grilling a lobster is great. As long as, you know, you give it you give it that char taste, you know?
Yeah. No, for sure, man. I like to grill. With my steaks, I'm just like, keep a steak, you know, so I'll throw butter on it and salt and pepper and that's it. And yeah, if it's grilled right, it's just like, it's perfection every time. But
yeah, that's all you should eat is a little salt and pepper if you have a good cut of meat. You know, if people are marinating and doing other things, they're trying to hide the fact that you're using a crappy cut of meat, you know?
Exactly. Dude, so we started off our introduction to each other was really interesting. I think we should share that and then we could get into some of the questions. But I think the coolest thing, so there was a little bit of kickback. I have a subscription-based business. You're going subscription-based for your page for sellers only.
Right.
And I was like, you know, and then there was a big collection and I didn't know that these guys were talking to you and multiple other individuals. I thought they were only talking to me, and rightfully they should be talking and kind of verifying what they're taking it slow, right? Determining what they're going to do. But so I was like, wait, is this guy, I was trying to protect them. There was a misunderstanding. And then boom, you called me, which is very much so my style. And I was like, this guy's calling me. Awesome. And
Right.
we jumped on the call and we talked for about an hour. And it's like, holy smokes. Not only do we have like commonalities with music, but we love collectibles. We have our personalities. We know the ins and outs of social media and the good and the bad and the ugly. And I mean, it was like that. A little misunderstanding could lead into like, on social media, it can lead into like hate and defaming and libel and fights and us versus them. But you and I had that phone conversation, which I think really opened both of our eyes, where we're like, oh, we're actually very much so more alike than we even knew. So I thought that was awesome that you called me up, man. And that's kind of what led into this. And I was like, maybe we ought to introduce each other and get to know each other even a little bit better through this kind of medium, which, yeah.
Absolutely. I've always been big on, I walk the walk, but I can also talk the talk. So that's kind of been my thing, like I picked up the phone and I called because you and I both know with the age that we're in and social media, and you just touched on all of that. People are wild with one of these numbers right here. You get one of these, and then all of a sudden you're this guy. And that's fine. But and I'm not saying you. I'm just saying in general. And I'm not big on that. I'm big on, hey, if I got an issue, I will let's figure out the issue instead of turning it into this big thing. But on the flip side of that, like you touched on some things too, where there's no public, unless you're talking about some wildness and you're getting on TMZ with some crazy things you shouldn't be doing. No publicity is bad publicity. You know what I'm saying? So I always lean heavy into that with everything that I do. The more I'm talked about, the better it is for me.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we propagate that. We have a group called the Vintage Alliance, and we have the app, the Collector Alliance, and we propagate in Vintage Alliance. So I wanted to jump on a call with you originally as well, and then boom, we had it, and we propagate that because we see that there's a lot of these micro problems, misunderstandings. Could be shipping, it could be a price, it could be, I don't know, some minuscule thing where, and this fire builds, and it's like, wait, guys, jump on a call, get to know each other, FaceTime preferably. In person is the best, right? So you actually get to know it. You hear the voice, you see the eyes, you see the body language, and you're like, oh, actually, I like this guy. You know what I mean? It's so easy for people to sit and judge a photo and words that are misconstrued, misconceived, misperceived, all the above, and then it fuels this wildness. And I think we all have a lot in common as collectors in the collecting, and we should keep it at that. Not our politics, not our who you voted for, not your religion, not your let's keep it professional. And you and I both see eye to eye on that. And it's and so tell us a little bit about you told us about the chef, but what do you collect specifically, and like when did that journey start for you?
Wow, man. So I collect a little bit of everything. I don't keep it just the toys. I do collect toys, and prior to this becoming a business, I collected everything. Anything from the 80s and 90s that kind of bred that nostalgia for me. I'm going to say something right now that you're going to hate, and that's fine because we're all different. The one thing that I know a lot about, there's a lot out there, and that's, I'm not a Star Wars guy.
Oh.
I'll tell you why. So when I was a kid, parents love both my parents. They're divorced, but hey, dad had us some days, mom had us some days. It was a very good system that we had. So when dad would have us, weekends, right? We're talking weekends. And I was a big sports guy. I played football, basketball, baseball, all that. So on Sundays, I would want to watch football, right? I want to watch the Browns. Well, what's dad want to watch on Sundays? Dad wants to watch Star Wars or Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back. So it became this thing to me where I was just like, I hate Star Wars. I can't stand it. I just want to watch football, and that kind of carried throughout my my life. I can dig some of it now, and I do keep certain pieces or whatever. But my collection prior to this becoming a business was very, very, very broad. You know, Motu, Transformers was actually my big thing for a long time. I have
Cool.
many pictures of when I was a kid, and I'm getting Six Shot or Ultra Magnus, and I'm pulling my hair out, going, 6-year-old chef, please don't open that box, you know, but he obviously opened it and played with it. But so Transformers was really my big thing, but it kind of morphed into everything as the nostalgia. Cause you know, obviously Motu, when I was a kid, all my Motus were hand-me-downs from my uncle, but it became like a big thing for me. And I jumped into video games real quick too. So I was kind of a big video game collector for a little bit. I also collect. Oh yeah. Yep.
NES, Mario 3. You can't really see that's Kung Fu. That's the Zapper. Got some NES games too.
Yeah, we do. So I'm big on those. Like I have my, and this is one that people don't know a lot, but the first ever CD based game system was Sega CD. Okay. But at the same time Sega CD came out, so did Panasonic 3DO. And
3DO.
I still have my original 3DO with a ton of games, and people are like, what is a 3DO? I said, this was out before PlayStation. And it was kind of like, I don't want to say it was like role-playing type games, but you would do like a whole movie scene basically, and then you play for a little bit, and then it would be another movie scene, and then you play for a little bit. So it was like more interactive. You know, that I think that was their whole...
3DO had Metal Slug, didn't it, too?
Yes. Metal Slug was the good one, and then Road Rash was like my favorite to play on there.
Yes,
with
dude, it looked rad. Yeah. The graphics looked incredible.
So that was kind of. I collect tiki glasses from all over the globe. I'm a huge tiki guy. I own tiki bars and stuff like that. I collect hats because I'm pretty much bald, so you got to have a good hat collection. But I've collected those my whole life also. I got original Chartreuse and original, you know, starter hats from the 80s and 90s that are pretty crazy. So my collecting is like Pepsi stuff. I'm a big Pepsi drinker. So I collect a lot of Pepsi stuff. So it's not just toys with me. It's kind of a broad spectrum of things, you know. Toys, I love toys, obviously, or collectibles, dolls, whatever people want to call them. But it got to the point now. But we'll fast forward. You know, I've been doing this online thing for about 5 years now, and I've had so much come in and out of my hands that now I try to keep things that are like hooked to a memory that I may have. So like if I went to a certain toy show and I saw somebody that was like, I've been an LXC for a long time, chef, blah, blah, blah. I'll buy something from that person, and that goes in the collection back here as a memory. You know, I used to have it all laid out. Here's my Motu, here's my Transformers, here's my Star Wars. And we kind of scrapped that. And I just started putting things in my collection that just it's nostalgia, but a different nostalgia, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, kind of like hodgepodge.
It is. It's 100% hodgepodge. And some weeks there might be a Will Smith in the collection, you know, Independence Day, which, I mean, cheap, but also great figure. You know what I'm saying? Great movie, great memory. July 4th, 1996. You know, let's go.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an ever-changing thing, you know. But
dude,
I
see your super. I'm eyeballing your Super Soaker in the back. The XP. Is that the XP 100?
Yes, that is an OG. We did our 400th show. And we based it around the Super Soaker. So we had the Super Soaker logo for the shirts, and I brought out the Super Soaker, and I actually have a confetti cannon in here. So I'm like shooting off confetti for show 400. I'm spraying the Super Soaker everywhere, you know. So it's things like that. I mean, the Super Soakers were great when I was a kid. Same with, you know, me and my brother. I mean, I'd have that one, then he'd get a bigger one, then I'd get an even bigger one, you know, and it just kind of went bananas. So
I've been tempted to buy a super, like a box one. I had mine in the garage, and somebody ran it over with their car because I just had it laying in the. So yeah, it took me forever to get another super. That was devastating. That because the Super Soaker took squirt guns to a whole new level. I mean,
Oh yeah.
squirt guns
Yep.
were lame for Super Soakers. I mean, those things, and they were just rad. You could actually cock the thing. You know, it was like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I loved it, man.
Yeah, we actually
I'll-
we unboxed that. We unboxed that one live. I mean, we know that there's your big graded is great. I do graded
Yeah.
stuff too. Comics, toys, cards,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that. But I unbox some things. I let some things breathe
Yeah.
from time to time. I don't want to say
Yeah.
for shock value, but sometimes it's a shock value thing. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, he's opening
Yeah.
that $300 toy right now, and it's like, yeah, but
Yeah.
like that I
People
can play with, you know.
Star Wars community crucifies people who open Star Wars stuff, even if it's for their personal collection. Now, there is unethical practice with it where people will get, in my opinion, unethical. They'll get a kind of a beater mock, right?
Yep.
And let's say it's like a Gamorrean Guard Jedi, and it's got like the card isn't great, or the bubbles cracked, and it's worth $100. Well, in their mind, well, I can grade this item and sell it for 300. So they'll crack it open, they'll destroy that history, they'll grade it and I'm not a fan of that. But for me personally, look, if it's your personal collection and it's not profit, like, open that Super Soaker, man. That's rad. Like, you want untouched, unscathed. Personally, that's my personal, and people still might crucify me for even saying that, but it is what it is, like, you enjoy that Super Soaker, open up because you wanted to play with it, right? Like,
That's right. Yeah.
it is what it is. But the guys that are going out there cracking open, they usually call the figures uncracked figure, and you're like, how is it uncracked? It's because they ripped it open from the box and they're trying to get a better deal. And so I don't like that personally, but it is what it is. We all have our own set of convictions, if you will, or rules or sins, in all the communities. Joe accepts the GI Joe, like, they allow repro in GI Joe, like a lot of them do. You know what I mean? Which is shocking. If I buy GI Joe, I don't want repro at all. But some of these guys are like, oh yeah, you can sell. They don't crucify in Star Wars. Crucified, and we don't allow that at all. We don't allow reproduction on TCA or VA at all. But I was shocked to find that out of GI Joe. So now you collect kind of stuff that is super nostalgic. I mean, we're getting nostalgia at the end of the day. This is just straight up nostalgia. How, like, when you sell, how does that compare and contrast to collecting? Like, do you have as much fun selling as you do collecting and hunting, yada yada yada?
I'd say it all kind of plays with each other because the selling with me happened on accident. Me and you kind of talked about, not on accident, but it happened on accident. Yeah. But my selling platform, or the way that because we know there's eBay and there's Macari's and there's all these things. Me personally, I do 90% of my selling in a live auction. But my biggest thing is I like to have fun in my auction. I like to give people a place. I'm rated R at best. So if you're out there watching this on the internet, and you happen to jump into my show, it is not for kids. I mean, it can be. It depends on how you do with your kids,
Yeah.
But I like to give that place where,
right?
Yep. Yeah, earmuffs, exactly. But I like to give that place where people can come in and kind of be themselves. I find the selling just as fun as the collecting and the hunt. It all kind of goes hand in hand, at this point. The only thing I've found is over time, I've started keeping less than I used to, because I will find something I'm like, oh, that's really cool, but then to me, it's if I can get it into the hand of somebody who is like I had this when I was a kid, man. This is awesome. You know, this is my one thing. To me, that's a better feeling than me sticking in this case back here to look at every now and then, because I know that that is a very, I don't want to say sought after, whatever, you know, sought after piece or something like that. I mean, the biggest part of my collection that's grown recently is wrestling. Big time, because I do other things with professional wrestlers, and I help manage the GWC, which is the greatest wrestling collection. So we get to meet a lot of wrestlers. We get ring worn. We get to kind of interact with them. So my wrestling collection is way buffed up. You know, I got all these autographs and pictures and belts and figures, and you know, it reminds me of a memory, you know.
You should talk to one of our mods in Vintage Alliance, Brian Pursley. He loves wrestling stuff. He has tons of the belts,
Nice,
super expensive belts, and claims that he runs around naked with the belts on, which I think is pretty bad. If you ask me.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. You just got to tell him, if you wear a belt, you got to be ready to defend it 24/7, because that's the rule, you know. Yeah.
Shredded too. He's shredded, so he could get away with that pretty easily.
Fair enough. Fair.
Yeah, but yeah, dude. Yeah. So you do a myriad of things, and we're really similar in that. Like, I do business consulting, music licensing, and TV and film. I do the vintage Star Wars majority of the time. I have other stuff, like, I don't know if you checked, you know, my listings on Collector Alliance, but I have like random stuff like Talk Boys, you know, that I picked up, and I'm like,
yep,
you know, so random and just cool, you know. And I'm like, I'll buy that. I'll put that on the site. If it sells, it sells. If not, I'm stoked on it. But I'm predominantly, I buy large collections for Star Wars collections, vintage, mostly mock. And that's just what that's what I like. That's my passion. That's what I like to do. So bing, bang, boom. And I totally agree with you regarding the selling and collecting. It also helps us amass collections that if we were only buying, and I recommend to collectors, they say, how do you get all this stuff? And I'm like, you got to sell too. Like you just have to get into, that's when you're really in it, because you can sell stuff, and then you can fund other pieces that might be a little bit like a little more than you want to spend on it, but you really want it, for example. And you're like, I know that's expensive, but gosh, I did pretty decent in that last auction. So yeah, I can go ahead and pay this guy for his expensive item and not be, you know, not feel like, you know, I'm spending too much money, or my wife will yell at me or something like that. Right.
I get a lot of the wife stuff, you know. I get a lot of people that say, hey, I'm going to take a break from buying for a little bit. My wife's been on me. And I'm just like, dude, no problem. Or I'll have guys that say, hey, can you mail this to my work? That way my wife doesn't see it. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'll mail it wherever you want. Give me a P.O. box. I'll mail it to your work. You know, whatever. I mean, it's, you know, that's the old me and my wife personally, we keep our stuff separate. I mean, actually, so I think right here you can see that's one of her pieces up there. She's big on strawberry shortcake. And this is one. So this house right here, the strawberry, that's a very, very sought after piece in their community. This thing showed up sealed, right? Sealed mint. So we did a nice video, and she unboxed it, opened it up, and put it together. And people lost their minds in the strawberry shortcake groups, because you don't find them sealed, and you don't find them like that. But she wanted one to build, because once you put it together, you can't take it apart. There's some clips on there that break.
Okay.
So she has her brand new house displayed in her collection room, and then I keep the box up top up here just for whatever, you know, display purposes, I guess, or a talking point, whatever. But she beasted that video, man, you know, Mrs. Chef. And she wasn't reading the comments because I was videoing it. So I'm replying to the hate for her, you know, and it's like, but it got a little wild, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. But that's for her personal collection.
That's what we just talked about.
Yep. Yeah. Well, who knows what that thing? What is it worth? $1,000 sealed? $2,000?
Probably more. It was about, we paid $1,000 for it back then. I'd say it's gone up sealed. Even complete. Even complete no box, you're $400 or $500 these days if it's in good shape. Yeah, just because everybody opened that thing. You know, we all know girls' toys, which is crazy. They made less girl toys than they made. Oh, sorry about that. Got a call. There we go. They made less girls' toys than they made boys' toys. So there's a lot less mint and box strawberry shortcake. There's a lot less mint and box. I mean, Barbies, yes, were mass produced.
For sure.
But anything else, it's pretty tough to find things in great shape. Even Star Wars kind of blows my mind. I'm Ohio guy, so Kenner was in Cincinnati. And you see it a lot. The yellow bubble, the things like that, they're still around, but that UV, because they were, I don't want to say mass producing it, but when you mass produce something and you're just worried about packaging, and back then, not knowing this was going to be a collectible thing, you're trying to make your packaging as cheap as possible, because that's a irredeemable cost of doing business. You have to have it in a package. So that's why you see these yellow bubbles, these things that got kept, even if they were kept in a tote, doesn't matter. That oxidation got in there, and now boom. But when we come across something that's a graded a 90, you know, you're like, wow, I wonder where this was kept to where it didn't get any of that. You know,
for sure. It's
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, speaking of graded 90s, a lot of stuff that was graded 90s like 6 or 7 years ago would not fly as a 90 today. I saw in an auction house that the graded 90 Luke Skywalker double telescoping mock, and it was expected to hit 1,000, and apparently it did hit 1,000. I'm sorry, $100,000. It was a grade 90, but when I analyzed the piece, I was like, it doesn't look like a 90 today. You know, 90 today, a lot of the grading companies, you know, they've circulated through enough stuff where they're actually becoming more strict on the grade scale, which is interesting. But I have some graded stuff. Most of my stuff is actually, it's in acrylic. But I'm not anti-grading, nor am I like gung-ho grading. I do like it. I think everything is a blessing. Everything that's added to the community, conventions, grading, groups, new apps, etc., you know, are a blessing. And the people that are putting forth the time to do these things should be supported. You know, all the groups, etc., yada yada yada. Now, you've been an admin, I've been an admin. What are some of the pros and some of the cons of being an admin?
Well, I mean, right away, I guess a pro would be you kind of do whatever you want. You know, it's like your kingdom, if that makes sense. And you can kind of, I don't want to say get insider, at least with us. So for a long time, you know, we started this group about 4 or 5 years ago. We never dreamed it would get to almost 20,000 people. But back then we had a lot of comics. We did these raffles. We had a bunch of different stuff going through the group, and it was a lot of Chiefs and not as many Indians back then. But then as we kind of gained our footing and figured out our identity, some of these things dropped off. You know, games is a big one. We all like to gamble, but I'm not big on the game. I'm not big. Something else you touched on earlier too is okay. We do sell. I do this for a business, but there are people that take that way too. Like, they will grade a piece just to make money on it. That's their only reason for grading a piece. Just like a game. Now, I might not be able to sell this figure for $100 now, but if I put it up in a raffle and I sell 12 spots at $10, 12 people will spend $10 to try to win it. So now I just upped the value of a figure that's probably not worth that, but I got my money for it. And it creates this, I don't want to say jealousy, or it just creates, I think, bad stuff for the community. I mean, I'm all about whatever. I got real angry one night. on my show, as some people will say. I'm not angry. I'm just intense, people. But I was asking them, hey, what do you guys want to see? Like, we're going to do some new stuff. And somebody brought up a game. And I said, well, look, man, if you want to gamble, if you really want to gamble, this is what we'll do. Instead of doing a game, I'm going to start mystery boxes. It's $50 for a mystery box. Every 10 mystery boxes we sell, we'll put a $200 item in there. So that way you're gambling, but you're still getting something. So like you're still getting your $50 worth. And then one guy out of 10 is going to get quadruple what he put in. And then that became a thing that was like, it's gambling, but not really, because everybody wins, you know? So we don't really have to do anything with that. But having an
admin mailbox, it's just fun for them. Yeah.
But having an admin, all that together with games and sales and posts, and that was when it was a little tougher. Now it's gotten a lot. I mean, for the past year and a half, probably, the group's basically run itself. We don't have to do much. Our reputation kind of precedes ourselves. I mean, there's jealousy out there of people sit in the background. They do not want to see other people do good. I personally want everybody to eat. I want to see everybody, even my worst enemies. Hey, I've tried to bring them on camera like me and you are doing right now. Why? Because it's great TV and it's going to get viewers. It's also going to drive sales. But we've kind of let it admin itself for a while. And then obviously I kind of did a thing about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, that people were not happy about. But there was a lot of people that were happy about it. And there's a lot of people that are seriously benefiting from it already. You know, they're like, wow, this is great. You know, more things are being seen. You know, with a lot of these groups, it became a dumping point. You want to sell your stuff, you make a marketplace listing. Then you find out about the toy groups. So you go to every group and you post that in every group. And it's like, at some point, I mean, that's okay. We do want to breed community, but we also want a give and a take. You know, it's not just your marketplace dump anymore. Okay. And
there are members that think that they have a rite of passage in the groups when people have spent a lot of time. I mean, you and I talked about how many PMs we get on a daily basis, answering questions, dealing with lovers, dealing with haters, dealing with conundrums between people. I mean, bro, sometimes I'm like, it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I haven't even taken a shower, and I'm like trying to help these people fix their problem. I'm like, my gosh, man, like it's a tremendous amount of work. And you know, I've had this app idea for the Collector Alliance for about 4 years, and we're finally unveiling it. And we're right now it's a buy sell trade app, right? Where you can do deal or no deal or bin, and it's any collectible, modern or vintage. And you know, it's a subscription base with 0 fees. And yeah, we've heard people say, oh, $9.99, man. Oh my gosh, are you trying to get rich? And I'm like, yeah. That's $9.99. I'm like, what do you want, man? You want a free account? I'll give you a free account if you're going to complain about it that much. Like, it's no sweat off of me. You know what I mean? But we're trying to build a safer place, a safer platform. Like you said, with the subscription, it's a fence, right? The subscription is a fence for bad sellers to say, I don't want to pay the subscription. Right away, a bad seller is not going to spend that $9.99. They're going to go elsewhere. They're going to go to eBay, wherever it's free, right? And we've eliminated, and you guys have 0 transaction fees. We've eliminated transaction fees. I know Facebook groups that bring on sellers and charge a 10% transaction fee. And I'm like, you know, and these auctions, they charge sellers fees, buyers premiums, taxes up the wazoo, overcharge on shipping. And look, I've bought from auction houses. I'm not trying to badmouth or anything, but I've just seen that there's opportunity for us to conglomerate as an alliance of collectors in one central place. I don't believe it belongs on Facebook in long term. I believe that a new platform is where we need to go, but that's neither here nor there right now. That's my conviction. That's why I've spent the time that I have to build that subscription base. And you've gotten subscription for your sellers on your platform because you see that builds that wall. You're not going to get rich off of $5 a month. I watched that whole feed go down, and I was like, it's interesting because I'm building a PTP, subscription based company. I'm like, and I saw a lot of love, I really did, but we all focus on the hate more. So every hateful message, you need to see 10 to feel better, psychologically.
Right.
And some people were split, and they're like, well, I'm out of here. And you're like, I've never seen you buy, sell, trade, talk like anything in this group. So okay, dude, and you're not selling, so what's going on? So people and their emotions, boom. And they get so emotional, and I honestly think that a lot of people utilize social media as their means of conveying their life problems, because they can push it all out through a keyboard. They don't receive the anger back, and they go after guys that are actually doing something, and they're like, yeah, I don't like that. And it's like, why don't you get up and go do it better then? Why don't you do that? Right. How about that?
Yep.
And instead of ridiculing people that are actually out there building something and trying to provide something, may it be a business, okay,
right.
If we could all be philanthropists and we live in a Renaissance utopian society that where money doesn't exist, cool, let's do it. I would still do what I'm doing, but that is not reality. That's not fact, right?
Nope. Agreed.
I saw some of the stuff, and I liked your responses, and I was like, subscription based, this guy, and so we talked, and I was like, I don't know, man, like where do we stand? And you and I chat, and I'm like, I subscribe to your LXC, you subscribe to TCA, we're chatting, I think our phone conversation led to a positive relationship from here on out that is authentic, and we could have been at each other's throat. We could have never talked to each other, not knowing each other, and throwing each other in the gutter, which is what a lot of people on the internet do. But it takes one phone call for people to say, oh my gosh, we've got a ton in common. I mean, dude, that night I jammed tons of punk rock face to face, because
nice.
I was like, yeah, dude, I listened to the whole Face to Face album, I think it's the self-titled where the guy's looking in the broken mirror.
That's a great one.
Love that. So good. But yeah, man, I'm happy with where things ended up. I'm happy to have this, a little chat, and hopefully that propagates something to the collector community where, hey, let's take a step back. Let's think about how we act online. Let's think about how we communicate with each other, and let's try to resolve things and find our commonality based upon collecting, rather than creating discord and divisiveness within the community.
Absolutely, which, believe it or not, has always been one of my goals, but there's a lot of people out there that won't say that. Just because we have run into, listen, I'm one that I will never lose a war of words. My wife can attest to that. My mother can attest to that. I can get pretty dirty. And I have gotten dirty on the internet, but only after the attempts to say, hey, what's the deal, or whatever. But if I'm personally attacked and then you want to use this thing, and that's fine, but eloquently, man, this is getting crazy with the phone calls today, people. It's actually video chats, no phone calls coming through. But anyways, I'm not going to discredit it, but that's what put LXC on the map. There was a lot of, I'd say older guys. I'm older. I'm 40, but I'm saying older than me, that were not, man, come on, guys. There we go. That are not, they weren't happy. They weren't happy about LXC busting on the scene. They're not happy about seeing me in a video. They're just not happy. And they want to attack things personally. And there was a guy, and he came after like, I mean, this is our livelihood, He tried to come after our entire group over something that we didn't even do. It was just assumed that we did it. And we buried that guy. I buried him. He's buried. He's no longer on Facebook anymore. He went to Whatnot because we buried him. I mean, that is, I have a thing that I say, I'm undefeated since 6th grade. And I say that in every show. And I live that mantra. And when I tell people, I say, look, I don't mean that I never lose, because we all take L's, but it's how you take those L's and you keep it moving forward. You take that lesson you learned and you apply it moving forward. And that way, next time you don't have that issue. And there's a big story, whatever. In 6th grade, my last name got changed. My dad found out who his real dad was. I got a new homeroom. Everybody thought, yeah, I was Richard Trenner in 5th grade. And then 6th grade, I became Dick Knatzer, because in 6th grade, hormones are flowing. People figure out Dick's short for Richard. They can start saying it without getting in trouble. So you either get bullied for it or you own it. Yeah. I own that, and then here I am,
Still own it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
But the internet, the groups are crazy, and I agree with you on the Facebook thing. We've talked. Facebook eventually is going to either scrap this or they're going to start charging. Me as being one of the bigger, I say big dogs online. I say that a lot. When I think of big dogs, there's maybe like 6 people that come to mind that are constantly out there hustling. They're on all the time. You see them selling. You see their groups. You see it all. We can sustain that if they start charging us. But there's a lot of little guys out there that are not. I mean, we just a little test with $5. Some of these, some of these little guys fell off already. I've been inviting, hey, Facebook, let's just charge me and then let me do whatever I want. Just tell me what that charge is going to be. $100 a month, $500 a month, whatever it's going to be. Give it to me. I'll budget that in what I do. And then we can go from there. They're going to start with this verified account stuff soon, where you got to pay $15 to verify your account. I can't wait to see the meltdown of that, because people are going to lose their minds. But if you don't pay for that verification, your post that was here is now going to go all the way down here, because you did not pay. You did not pay that $50
verified. Bingo. Bingo. That's there's one step. There's one step, right? And people are going to say, gosh, well, where do I buy, sell, and trade? Well, Collector Alliance is $9.99 a month. You can buy, sell, and trade as much as you want with 0 transaction fees. So our thoughts are, when this happens, buyers, even on eBay, buyers are paying the transaction fees, and on auction houses too. They are. Right. So $100 item, they think they're paying $100, but the sellers really walk away with like what, $80, right? And the seller would have sold it for $80 gladly on the site. So at $9.99 for even one item, you're still saving 10%, right? And you're saving $10. So I think it's simple arithmetic. If you're a pretty regular collector, buyer or seller, the $9.99 a month is nominal, and you're going to save thousands of dollars over the years if you buy, sell, and trade, or buy or trade or sell regularly. It's gonna work out. So we're sitting pretty. That's why I'm talking to guys like you, sharing what we're doing, and we're gonna be ready for the onslaught when it happens, if and or when it happens. And regardless, some people want a new platform anyway. So we're building it. We're ready for it. I even told you about our incentive program that should entice you, where we give back. We give back, and I don't see Whatnot doing that. I don't see eBay doing that. I don't see Facebook doing that. And so we're trying to build something where it's community based, rather than just, some guy from Silicon Valley started Whatnot and is just trying to make buku bucks, right? They evaluate Whatnot at $3 billion. And I'm like, come on, that's so inflated. And the reason why you can write that kind of crap up. They have $150 million of investors pumping money into marketing, which is why they're in your group. I'm talking about Whatnot. They're in your group. They're in my group. I've had to boot them out. They're in CA. You know, it's just, I'm just speaking I usually keep this stuff quiet, but I'm just speaking the truth now, because these guys they're pretty cutthroat in how they go about things. And I think guys like you and I look at this as a community as a whole, which is why we're on a call, which is why we talk to each other, which is why we give each other the time. And you called me, you're like, I'm going to give this guy the time of the day. I don't know him at all, but I'm going to give him the time of the day so we can get on the same page. And boom, it worked, right? We've got on the same page. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens.
I like Whatnot being. Bring them all in here. I want to bring them all here. Let them come in, and I just want them to watch. They're more than welcome to take notes, even though I gave them some already that they didn't want to listen to.
Right.
But and my biggest thing, we touched on some things, or you touched on it. So a live auction. I'm not talking about Facebook. I'm talking about, if you go to a live auction to buy some things, the first thing you have to do is you have to go get a number. This is my number 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
Say I spend $1,000 at this live auction, and then I go to cash out. Guess what? I'm getting charged a buyer's fee of 10%. So now I'm paying $1,100, not $1,000. Also, the thing that I see that I pride myself on, at least with my auctions, and it's not every item, because there are some niche items, like, example, we'll go with, in the Collectors Alliance right now, right? Our friends that have the big Star Wars collection, there's some deal or no deal pieces that are up right now. We have an 80 graded Imperial shuttle, okay? You and I both know that is thousands and thousands of dollar piece. It's a very niche market of people that can afford to buy that piece.
Yeah.
So if I'm selling that, there's no way I'm going to start it at $1 unless I have the viewership that I think I should have. But the majority of my stuff, I start at $1. I mean, I've started an entire sealed G.I. Joe flag at $1 in my show before. But
wow,
that is an auction. You know, all these guys that are on Facebook now, they call themselves auctioneers. Well, you're not really an auctioneer. You're doing a claim sale. You're doing a sale. Yeah. You're a salesman. An auction is, I got 5 here. I got 5. Do I see 10? I got 10. You know. Watch. I know we just kind of struck up this friendship, but if you watch my show, or anybody out there, if you ever watch my show, I will have 7 to 13 items up at one time. Bang. And I start most of them at $1, and then I'm keeping track of all these items as everybody's bidding. And there's not anybody out there, and I'll say this right now, and if you can do this, call me. I want you on my team. There's not a lot of people out there that can do that and keep track of the numbers and the bids and all this stuff. I'm a one-man show. I don't have, if you watch a lot of these people.
My next live auction, I'm going to do 14.
Yes, let's go. But you'll watch.
You and I both have adult ADHD, like high functioning. It's where you can focus, dude. I mean, it's a freaking superpower. You can focus on things. Everything else is like noise, you know. Like even the wife, like bringing you dinner, you're like, I don't know what's going on. Thank you. You know. No. Oh yeah. I love her dinners, but yeah, no, it's dude.
Yeah. The minute the live button kicks on, it's let's go, and then that's it. I'm here, and I do the difference between me and a lot of these sales is this also. I do it for entertainment purposes. I do a monologue every show. I do 30 minutes before I even sell one item. So even if new people are coming in and they're seeing a toy auction, they're going, well, are you going to sell any toys? Are you going to sell any toys? And I'm going, sit back, get yourself a drink, maybe roll yourself a doobie, whatever it is you do over there, relax and enjoy the show, because you got about 30 minutes as we go through, because I do the announcements and I announce pertinent things in the group. I talk about what number show I'm on, whatever drama happened that week. And then I kind of give Chef Dick's life tip, you know, and my life tips are a little brash sometimes, but people think about it. You know, I'll get calls, bro, because one of my biggest things in life is if you're unhappy, the biggest unhappy thing that most people have in life is their job, because they are working to live and not living to work, or both. So I say, if you're unhappy with your life, the first thing you need to change is your job. Quit it. You want me to do it? I'll do it for you. I charge $10 PayPal. I'll call your boss and I'll say, hey, I can quit, you know, or this is whoever. And I tell people,
Yeah.
if you want me to do it in person, just pay my plane ticket and give me a room to stay for the night. I'll come to your job and quit for you in person. Because this will force you. Everybody's scared to make a change. Why? Because of the dollar, right? I can't afford it. I can't afford it. But once you quit that job, something here clicks in. It's your survival instincts. And when your survival instincts click on, it opens up your mind to so many different things that now it's time to find that thing that makes you happy. And I've say 100 people over the last 2 or 3 years have called me and said, I watched your show last night. I quit my job. Now I do this and I'm so much happier. And I just think that's crazy. But, you know, if you don't love what you do, I mean, that's step one. I mean, most people, step two is the spouse issue, you know, like people are just comfortable and say that's step two. If you did the job thing and you're still unhappy, step two is it's probably who you're surrounding yourself with. It's time to change that up. But that's part of what I do. So it's not just I'm not just here to take, I mean, granted, I want everybody's money. I mean, I sell things that cost $5. I also sell things that cost $5,000. I don't want to alienate anybody from doing this. You know what I'm saying? I want everybody, because not everybody can afford everything. You know, like you said, I buy big collections too. I'll buy pretty much anything. But I try to keep a vast array of things. Like I just said, I do 13 items. I'll have a video game. I'll have a graded comic book. I'll have a sports card. Then I'll have 4 different toy lines. Like there is something for everybody to keep everybody kind of interacting and each budget, because not all of us can spend $3,500 on a graded Imperial shuttle. But maybe this guy wants to buy his $5 Will Smith. That, and then I found, like I said, I was the Transformer guy. When I started selling, like that's what I sold a lot of, because I know the most about them, all the lines all the way up. But what you find is, as you're building these communities or customers or base, whatever you want to call it, eventually this person will have it all. They'll have everything. And then where do they go? You know what I'm saying? So if you had a group, and we're seeing it happen right now after the boom of COVID and all these people started selling toys. Some people are very niche. I've seen a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle guy who's mad that no one's buying commons anymore. And it's like, well, you have a customer base that's all bought your commons. So now you got to either add new customers so you can sell those commons, or you have to get your current customer base into something else so you can keep. Eventually everybody will get everything they want, and then they're gone. You know, they're only here to get that. That's why we try to do multiple things. You know, we do toys, we do cards, we do comics, I do t-shirts, you know, whatever it is, you know, we do a little bit of everything. So we keep it broad, you know, we want everybody to enjoy the nostalgia out there.
Amen, man. Amen. I like it. Well, you're welcome to sell on VA and TCA.
I appreciate that. Same both ways.
Yeah, dude. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I should bring some Star Wars over to LXC, do a live or something like that. 14 items at one time.
There you go. There you
go. But yeah, dude. Any questions from you? Anything else that you want to share?
No, I think we're pretty solid. I will share this. I'm going to pick up the camera just to show some things. This is the worst part of the job. Everybody can see the craziness that goes on after it. Look at all this. Yeah,
dude, it is. People don't know, like, you have to have that superpower to do these things, to do the live auctions, sort, get people the right items, pack up. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of, I think it's cathartic. I think it's cathartic to like jam some music, pack up, and bing, bang, boom.
Yeah, I mean that's one sale, and then we do. I mean, people are like, how do you do with these pieces? Then I got all these over here that are. This guy bought a T-shirt. This guy bought a T-shirt. This guy bought a T-shirt.
Yes. Yeah.
Then we got a whole stack of people that go, hey, chef, I'll take 2 mystery boxes. I'll take a mystery box. I'll take a mystery box. So it's like, it's a crazy matrix, you know, that I have to kind of do every week. But that's the difference. That is the difference between, man, this is killing me with the calls. All right. Anyways, that is the difference. We talked about it, man. I turned off my cell service and Messenger is just going bananas.
I have 12. No, I have 11. I have 11 messages waiting for me just in the hour that we chat.
Oh yeah, every person is that. But that's it right there. And when we hang up here,
dude, it's a blessing to be a source for people. It's a lot of work. It's a blessing though. Unless it's the drama of all of that, you know, all the funny drama, you know.
Yeah, like I said, I just spin it. I don't love the drama. I'd rather go on about my day. But
I know
drama brings viewers. I'll spin it, and then guess who has 285 people in their show on a random Thursday? You know what I'm saying? You always got to take that spin. I've treated this like wrestling the entire time since I started being an auctioneer. I sometimes am the face, and I sometimes am the heel, but I always get a reaction out of the crowd. That's all I'm looking for. That is what I'm looking for, you know?
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm glad to have gotten to know you better and have this and yeah, man. LXC, Vintage Alliance, the Collector Alliance, boom.
Cheers.
Have a great day.
All right. You too, brother. Nice chatting with you. Check you later.
You're not listening. I'm making plenty of sales, but I'm losing way too much in seller fees.
There is no platform which doesn't charge seller fees.
There's one now, the Collector Alliance.